they understated this Trump voter. They're lower engagement. They're less likely to have a college education. They're more likely to be in rural areas. They distrust the mainstream media. They're not answering polls all the time. But crucially, they're busy. They've got jobs, blue-collar jobs. They're not one to have a natter with a pollster on a phone for 20 minutes.
They got work to do.
The votes are still being counted across America, but Donald Trump is already set to be the next president of the United States, in a comeback for the ages, the first president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms since Grover Cleveland, another New Yorker, in the late 19th century. Trump declared his victory before jubilant supporters at 2 a.m. East Coast time this morning in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Wisconsin, the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we're all won by the MAGA movement. They helped so much. And in those cases, every one of them, we worked with the senators. They were tough races. And I mean, the number of victories in the Senate was absolutely incredible. And we did tele-rallies. We did tele-rallies with each one of them. And sometimes we did 2 or 3 and it was amazing to look at all of those victories. Nobody expected that, nobody. So I just wanted to thank you very much for that. And you have some great senators and some great new senators. And it also looks like we'll be keeping control of the House of Representatives.
Donald Trump at his victory party. Kamala Harris decided, perhaps understandably, not to turn up at hers. Trump won back states he'd lost 4 years ago, holding on to North Carolina, the only swing state he won in 2020, but this time adding Pennsylvania, Georgia and Wisconsin. Of the swing states still to declare, Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, he's ahead in all of them. It looks like a clean sweep. He's even on track to win the popular vote, something no Republican has managed since 2004. In 2016, he was 3 million votes behind Hillary Clinton. He'll have a comfortable majority in the Electoral College, probably around 310 seats, to Kamala Harris's 260 or less. This wasn't just a better Trump performance than 2020 when he lost. It was better than 2016 when he won. Trump often seemed to be his own worst enemy during the campaign, intent on alienating the very groups, women, Hispanics, younger voters, he needed to win. But in the end, it didn't harm him, which underlines how poor a candidate Harris was. Hispanic men in particular flocked to his banner. 4 years ago, Biden won that group by 23 points. This time, Trump had a 10-point lead. It's a remarkable turnaround, and it was crucial in many swing states. Harris claimed Trump was a threat to democracy, and that cut through, but only to those already voting Democrat. Americans already inclined to Trump shrugged their shoulders when she called him a fascist. Those who would decide the election were more concerned about other matters. The Biden-Harris years, which had become synonymous with high prices, which savaged middle-class living standards. The case on the southern border, which saw over 10 million illegals flooding across that border, threatening to undercut the jobs of those Hispanics who'd come to America the proper way. The elevation of identity politics under Biden-Harris, which played better on the college campus than the factory floor. And the collapse of U.S. authority abroad, forever imprinted on American minds by the scuttling from Afghanistan in Biden's first year, but also by Russia's invasion of Ukraine and Hamas's attack on Israel, America's most important Middle East ally. Trump was still beatable, but not by a candidate as lackluster as Harris. She failed to gel with the American people, who remained puzzled by what the flip-floppers stood for, and she couldn't galvanize support behind her. She posed as the candidate of change, but couldn't shake off her role at the heart of an unpopular administration. Americans feared continuity. She came across as inauthentic, in clear contrast to Trump, whose authenticity could repel as well as attract. But voters knew what they were getting. In the summer, when Biden was still the Democratic candidate, Trump was heading for a convincing victory. The switch to Harris gave Democrats cause for hope for a while, but she blew it. Trump has won by the substantial margin he looked like scoring against Biden in July. Victory is his. Democrats had their chance, but they never worked out how to handle him. There are countless unthinking cheerleaders in the U.S. media did them no favours, blinding them to Trump's strengths, falsely believing their hatred for him would translate into general disgust. This is Trump's victory to savour, but he owes the Democrats some gratitude for helping him pave his way to it. This is Andrew Neil on Times Radio, live from New York City. Joining me now is Times Radio's John Pienaar in Washington, D.C. John, good to have you back on the show. Let me put this to you. It's not a landslide, but the scale of the victory is quite remarkable, is it not?
Yeah, it certainly is, Andrew. I wish I could tell you that I saw this Trump clean sweep coming, but I didn't, and that's
No,
maybe
nor
because
did I, John. Nor did I.
but maybe I should have been listening, Andrew. I should have been listening to the small town mayor in Pennsylvania, a Republican, who told me that Trump was an authoritarian and a bully and an enemy of democracy, but that he might vote for him anyway. I should have listened to the guys I spoke to in Allentown, who said they knew all about Trump being a racist, but what about the dollar in their pocket, trying to run a business in the case of one of them, and they might vote Trump too. What about the preacher, the Latino young woman, a preacher in Philly, who said for her it was about the right of the pro-life question. She was against a more liberal abortion law, and she was voting Trump for that reason. Maybe I should have gone down to the bookies, Andrew, because the bookies knew what was going on. I mean, what happened here? It was a two-horse race, and the favourite won. So, it doesn't sound like the biggest shock in the world, but the ones who didn't see this coming were the most highly educated ones in America and the most politically sophisticated ones in America. And they're the ones who are going to have to rethink a lot of things right now. And if anyone can tell us where we go from here when it comes to the effects on the American and the world economy, if Donald Trump pushes on with tariffs and starts a new trade war, or what happens to Western security if he manages to force Ukraine to the table with Vladimir Putin and change the relationship with NATO. Those questions, if someone can answer those, I really, really would be impressed.
No, they are massive questions, and they will unfold between now and the inauguration. Then, of course, after the inauguration, when he returns to the White House. John, can we yet discern a consistent theme? And how he managed to win, or looks like winning, all the swing states. He's won every one so far. He looks like winning the outstanding ones. Hispanic votes were important. I think that's clear. They moved to him big time, particularly males. But probably not just the whole story. Other things must have been at work too.
Maybe in one way, Andrew, there's less to this conundrum than meets the eye. Maybe Donald Trump did what he did because he gave a very, very simple answer to very, very simple questions. We're hurting, said American voters. In all parts, of all communities, we're hurting. Life is just more expensive now. It was cheaper, it was better, back when you were the president. And he said, yeah, I'll get you back there. I'll bring back the past and I will bring down prices. And he's telling them that he's going to put up tariffs on Chinese goods and every other goods coming in from abroad. And that's going to raise billions, which is going to go into the sort of things that Americans want. Now, look, economists are going to say, you do that, you're going to put up prices. You're going to cause a trade war. You're going to cause, you're going to take percentage points off the American economy. But those were simple answers, and they went down the general point, I'll make it better for you and take you back to where you want to be. That went down very well. And that sort of instinctive gut feeling against what's called the sort of liberal woke strain of thinking that a lot of people quietly detest, he spoke to them too. So simple problems, simple complaints, simple answers. Now, solutions, that's going to be the difficult part, Andrew, isn't it?
It is indeed, but you're right, he spoke to them and the Democrats didn't. The Democrats didn't speak to them, and that may be one of the fundamental reasons why they've gone down in flames in the election of 2024. John, we'll leave it there. Thanks for being with us. I know you've got a busy day ahead. John Pienaar of Times Radio speaking to me live from Washington, D.C. The closest to predict the actual results were JL Partners, who projected Trump to have a win of 287 electoral college votes. He'll probably get a bit more than that. And that he would win the popular vote, which he does look set to do. James Johnson from JL Partners joins me here now. James, thank you for coming on the show. How do you assess the performance of the polls overall?
Well, look, I think the polls made the same mistake broadly that they made in 2016, 2020, and again yesterday. They understated this Trump voter. They're lower engagement. They're less likely to have a college education. They're more likely to be in rural areas. They distrust the mainstream media. They're not answering polls all the time. But crucially, they're busy. They've got jobs, blue-collar jobs. They're not one to have a natter with a pollster on a phone for 20 minutes.
They got work to do.
Quite. And what we did is we used a mixed method approach. So we didn't just use phone-only polls like the Ann Seltzer Iowa one. We didn't just use online-only polls. We used a blend of methods to try and reach that audience. One way we did that was through what we call in-app game polling. If you're playing a game on your phone, you get a notification. Do you want to win 50,000 in-game points? Complete this short survey. It picks up people who are less engaged, less likely to talk to a pollster, but will fill out a survey. That's how we think we got closer to the result.
Interesting. Well, it certainly worked. Two remarkable trends jumped out at me. There'll be more, but I've managed to gather two so far. It's early days still here this morning in the US. The huge swing to Trump among Hispanics, especially Hispanic men, and Harris underperforming among women who were meant to be the key to her victory. Do both these things help explain Trump's victory?
Absolutely, Andrew. Now, on that non-white voter split, we saw that in our final poll. We had 29% of non-white voters breaking for Trump. The reality NBC projects looks like 1 in 3, so quite close to that number. Now, I think that what was really important here, though, was getting out and actually doing face-to-face conversations with those voters. Now, I don't just mean a 5-minute, 10-minute chat, but we did 60, 90-minute structured interviews. Now, you'd start those conversations with Hispanic men, for example, who I was speaking to in Phoenix, Arizona. You'd start those conversations where actually they said they were undecided or they said they were leaning Harris. By minute 60, minute 90, you got a sense of their worldview, and it became clear they were voting for Trump. The reason they were doing so, mainly the border. They felt that they've come here legally. Their parents, grandparents did it the right way, to quote someone I spoke to, and they feel frustrated that others aren't. That was a really key dynamic that came through. An Asian American voter I spoke to in Detroit in the final days of the campaign, he was a first-generation immigrant, came here from Lebanon. On paper, he should be a Democrat voter if you listen to the statistics. He said to me, "I want to keep the country that I came to." And that really speaks, I think, to how important the border was for a lot of these voters. They might not like talking about how they're backing Trump, but ultimately they did so.
Very interesting, James. Congratulations, getting a good poll result. Well done. You'll be very happy. James Johnson there, co-founder of JL Partners.